Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, so when we think about building a sustainable future, specifically in the Philippines, our minds usually jump right to the familiar stuff, right? Smokestacks, sprawling forests, or maybe big climate protests. But today, we're going to unpack a reality that completely flips that conventional wisdom on its head. The actual power to change the environment, it might just be hiding in plain sight, in a place you'd probably never expect. Let's get right into it.
First off, let's just dismantle some of our everyday assumptions. I want you to ask yourself, what do you think is the single most powerful lever for sustainability in the Philippines today? Like, if you were tasked with changing the environmental trajectory of the entire economy, what lever are you pulling? Take a second, really think about it, because your first instinct, it's probably going to lead you astray.
So, your very first guess might be the big industrial players, the massive manufacturing plants, heavy industry churning out our daily goods. And hey, that makes total logical sense. But the answer is actually not a factory. While greening a factory is obviously super important, it's really just a symptom of a much larger system.
Okay, well, if it isn't the factories, you're probably thinking, it's the people writing the rules. You might assume the most powerful lever has to be a government agency. I mean, we all rely on policymakers and regulators to set the standards, pass the laws, and enforce compliance, right? But nope, surprisingly, while the government absolutely sets the boundaries of what's allowed, they are not the ultimate most powerful lever driving the physical day-to-day transformation of the economy.
Right, so what about the advocates? Well, despite their incredible, tireless grassroots work and their lobbying, which is essential for raising public awareness, the ultimate lever is, surprisingly, not an NGO either. Non-governmental organizations are absolutely vital. Don't get me wrong, they hold the system accountable, but they don't hold the direct mechanical power to just instantly shift the physical infrastructure of a whole country's economy.
The surprising truth, the actual driver of massive sustainable change is simply this: a loan. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. It's not a new law, it's not a giant protest, it's not a brand new solar panel factory. It is a standard financial instrument. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but a loan is the invisible force that dictates whether any of those other things can even exist in the first place.
Which brings us to Section 1, the unexpected sustainability lever.
So here is the absolutely crucial point. Banks and financial institutions hold this immense, almost invisible power over the Philippine economy simply because, well, they are the ultimate gatekeepers. They are the ones who decide what gets funded. Think about it for a minute. You literally cannot build a factory without capital. A massive environmental project, it cannot break ground without financing. Before a single shovel even hits the dirt, a bank somewhere has to say yes. Because they control the flow of the money, they inherently control the entire direction of the country's development. They're basically the architects of the future just by choosing which blueprints get the funding to become a reality.
Moving right along to Section 2, every peso is a vote.
See, money isn't just some neutral currency. When we're talking about sustainability, it is an active ballot. Every single time a bank approves a loan, they are literally casting a vote for the future. Just look at the anatomy of this choice. When a bank issues a loan to, say, a coal-fired power plant, that is a concrete vote for carbon lock-in. They are tying the economy to heavy emissions for decades to come. But on the flip side, funding a solar farm, that is a massive vote for an energy transition. The bank's choice of where to put its capital is what physically shapes the reality of the power grid.
And these financial votes, they create massive ripple effects across society, even when you zoom in on a much smaller scale. Take a bank offering a green building mortgage. They're actively voting to build sustainable cities. Or think about microfinance. Giving a loan to a woman farmer who uses regenerative agriculture, that acts as a powerful vote for two massive goals at the exact same time: food security and gender equality. Just by choosing who gets the cash, the financial institution is literally engineering a more resilient society. It's wild when you think about it that way.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 3, shaping the planet.
I love this quote because it perfectly sums up the overarching reality here. Banks shape the economy, and the economy shapes the planet. It's this profound, undeniable chain reaction. The decisions being made every single day by loan officers and risk assessment teams in Philippine banks, they dictate the structure of the local economy. And since the global economy is really just a giant collection of these local economies, those localized financial decisions inevitably cascade upward. They literally shape the health of our entire planet. You simply cannot separate the financial system from the ecosystem. They are inextricably linked.
So,
Knowing that this immense planetary power rests squarely in the hands of financial institutions, it leaves us with one incredibly urgent question. If every peso is a vote, and banks are the ones casting the ballots that shape the planet, what are the 5 most critical sustainability issues that Philippine banks must tackle next? What specific challenges do these powerful gatekeepers have to overcome to ensure their votes are actually steering the country toward a sustainable future? Well, that is the defining question you'll need to explore next. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning where the real power lies and keep exploring.